Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today I thought I'd carry on my series where I look at pens from one manufacturer. So these are my top 5 favourite pens from Majohn or Moonman. Here's a quick glance at them. Join me now down on the table. We'll take a closer look at each pen and then we'll do a quick writing sample with each of them. And I'll give you my thoughts as we're going along. Welcome down to the table. I was going to call this video my top 5 Moonman and Majohn pens. Problem is, it's my top 5 as of this moment in time. And now as time, it may change. This is the problem. I've got so many Moonman or Majohn pens. And I've got a couple that are fairly new, which I'm really enjoying, but I haven't used them enough to say they're definitely in the top 5. So I just thought I'm going to call this 5 Moonman or Majohn pens. So the first one. This is the Majohn M600S. Now, I'll keep saying Majohn or Moonman, both the same. Majohn just the latest name for the Moonman range of pens. This is really nice. It's like a tealy blue. Very pretty. Love this chatoyancy in here. Very similar to a Parker Duofold. Very similar to a lot of my other Duofold style pens. The nib, or the pen on screws. Let me just show you that. So it comes off in half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, just under 3 turns. Reveals a number 6 size nib. Quite a nice nib on there. Unusual the way it's decorated. And this is a converter pen. So this is the Majohn M600S with a fine nib. Price for this pen, when I bought it, is about 25 Aussie dollars. I think they're up to about 35 Aussie dollars now. The ink is by Robert Hoster and it's Deep Sea. I think it's a good match for the colour of the body. I'm going to try, if I remember, I'm going to try and do these more often. This is one of the things which Wasky Squirrel does. So it just demonstrates the different ways that the nib's working. And I'll write a sentence. Just going to move the mic for that. Hopefully you could hear that. This is a very noisy writer. The paper I'm using is made by Ayush, which is an Indian brand. It's 100 GSM. It's slightly cream coloured paper. It's got a little bit of texture to it, so I can feel the texture when I run my fingers over it. Very nice. I love writing with this. Beautiful feedback. Not just audible, but there's also a nice tactileness to it. Love the colour. Love the size. It just fits so nice in my hand. Very comfortable to write with. And I can write with this pen for really long sessions. Next up, we've got the Majohn M400. So this is a fairly new pen. By new, I've had it only like about 6 months, whereas the M600, I've just been moving that paper up. I had that for about 2 years now. Love this. It's slightly smaller than the M600. Let me just show you. But we're only talking, maybe 3/4 of a centimetre, something like that. But I don't know why it does feel a lot shorter. The cap, half, 1, 1.5, just under 2 turns. Here again we've got a Majohn or a Moonman nib. Different looking though, isn't it? Different style. And then the body comes off. There's the converter. I love this colour, this blue, and I think matching it with a white looks really nice. I think there's 4 different colours available in this, so the white stays the same, it's just this colour of this barrel which changes. Does feel a little bit on the short side, not unusably so, but it will post. I don't use it posted, feels very back heavy to me. So we've got here a Majon M400. Just to do that, I should have done that on the M600. The nib on here is a medium. Price wise, we're looking 33 Aussie dollars when I bought this. The ink, it's by Lamy. It's part of the Crystal series, and it's called Benitoite. We'll do that grid again. So we go up and down in this one, side to side, hatches and our hatches there. I'll move the mic and write the sentence. So that nib, not as talkative as what I get with the M600. It's still nice, you can still hear it, it's still got that nice audible feedback. Not sure about this ink, it was a sample, so I've used up the last of the sample. Definitely not a match for the pen, but it's a nice, like maybe a bluey grey type colour. No shimmer or sheen, anything like that, it's just a flat standard ink. This pen, I say, does feel a little bit on the short side. The section though, nice width, comfortable enough to use. Just feels short, and what I find is more than maybe a couple of paragraphs I start thinking, well, is it for me? But it's still a nice pen, it's still a pen I enjoy using. So that was a Majon M400. Next up, we've got the Majon P135. Again, I'm just going to move this up slightly. There we go. The P135. This is it a copy? I think I want to say the Mont Blanc Le Petit Prince. I may be wrong about that. I think I'm not 100% certain on the manufacturer, but Le Petit Prince does come in. So we've got this engraving here on the cap. Looks quite nice. And it isn't, well, it might be stamped, but it looks like it's like or meant to look like it's engraved. The cap comes off in half, one and a half turns. Again, this pen is a cartridge converter. I love this dark burgundy type colour. It looks very nice. I think the whole pen actually looks quite nice. The nib is a bit small. Not sure, might even be smaller than a number 5. Could be a number 5, could be 4.5, something like that. Very small nib. Doesn't really matter. It's not the size that matters. You know, when I'm writing with it, it really writes well. The pen feels alright lengthwise. It's very narrow though. So my finger and my thumb there, they're squashed up together. I hold my pens down really low, and that's where this section is the thinnest. I think if you hold your pen up here, might not be too bad, but for me, I tend to go down low. So this is the Majon P135, and it's got a fine nib. Price wise, this was 45 Aussie dollars. I've had it again about 2 years, I would say. The ink is by Robert Oster, and it's Velvet Crush. Nice ink, nice colour, I like that. Again, not exactly a match for the body. Doesn't really matter though, does it? Because what matters is you like the colour when it's down on page. Let's do a grid. So we go up and down. Side to side. There we go. Then I'll move the mic. To me, this sounds more like I'm writing with the M600. What's common between them? Let me just move this down. They're both a fine nib, although we've got a number 6 nib on the M600. So it could be the width of the nib, the fineness, that makes a little bit of a difference. Again, something you'd actually expect. It's nice, I enjoy it. The pen, as I say, does feel a little bit on the thin side. When the cap's on, very weighty, there's definitely a weight to that. Most of the weight is in the cap. When you've just got the pen in your hand, it's not too bad. You can post it, but because of the weight of that cap, it's falling over backwards to me. Not enjoyable to use posted for me. It's way too heavy. But unposted, bit thin, but usable. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. Would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. So we're going from a thin and weighty pen to a wider, bigger and also weighty pen. This is the M1000. Beautiful wooden body on here. Love the silver coloured trim that goes off with it. And then here, even with these little studs, and we've got some studs there in the actual body. Nice little bits of detail to it, little bit of attractiveness. Let's just move that page up so I've got over a bit of blank space rather than over writing. We'll take the cap off. Half. 1 turn. Let's do that again for you. Half. Just over 1, maybe 1 1/4 turns. That reveals this number 6 size nib. There we go, there's that Majohn nib. And then another one, cartridge converter. This is a weighty pen. I believe it's a metal body. This wood is just an overlay, but you really feel it. It's very weighty. You've got this in your hand. The section is a metal section and it's a slippy section. Because I hold my pens down low and there's the little lip, I don't worry too much. I don't find my fingers slip with this. But again, if you hold your pen higher up, you may find your fingers slipping down because this does feel very slippy. Lengthwise, it's not too bad. Section-wise, could have been a little bit wider, but certainly more than usable for me. So we've got here a Majohn M1000. And in here, I've got a medium nib. The price for this was 54 Aussie dollars. The ink, it's another one by Robert Oster. And it's Honeybee. Quite a pale yellowish ink, but I think this wood looks quite nice. Let's do a grid. Down across. Love the way this goes. I mean, it's very nice. Quite surprised I like this. I got it because I thought, let's try something different. It's only a sample, but really enjoying it in this pen. I've tried this in a couple of other pens, didn't like it, but in this M1000 seems to work really well. Let's move the mic for the writing sample. This is nice. The weight really makes this a pleasurable pen to write with. I really enjoy it. Still not certain on this ink. It might be too light. Maybe I need to try a darker ink. Maybe even a brown. Maybe something like a Cafe Crema, Robert Oster Cafe Crema, or Diamine Tobacco Sunburst. Maybe even Diamine Aussie Brown might look nice, or Diamine Ochre. Loads of different inks I can try in this. Enjoy writing it. I love the weight. I like weighty pens. Again, the section slightly too small, but of the previous three, this is the nicest one. Just wish it wasn't this slippy metal. So that's the M1000. Our final pen, this is the Majohn M800. One of the first Chinese pens I bought. I've got all 4 colours in this model. That's how much I like it. This is the green version. Beautiful. Just look at this as I turn it around though, where the light plays off it. We've got loads of different shades of greens in here. Very nice. Very pretty. The cap, that's half, 1, about 1 1/4 turns again, so half, 1, 1 1/4-ish. Now the pen body very closely looks like a Leonardo Momento Zero, doesn't it? It's actually why I bought it. I loved the look of the Momento Zero line. It was a lot of money. So that's why I got one of these just to try it out first. Glad I did because loved it. Loved the body size. Then I used that and I went on and I actually bought the Leonardos. The nib on here is a number 6 nib. I've actually changed the nib. So I bought a Moonman nib with this, but the Moonman nibs, they only come in a choice of fine or fine. There might be an extra fine, but I could only get fine. I'm not a fine nib person, so I've actually swapped it now. And I've got in here a Goulet broad nib, so it's a Yoho nib. This is piston filler. Not a piston filler, cartridge filler. You could say, yes, it's a piston because that's all this is like a piston mechanism. That's easy to remove. I love the section on this. I love the shape of this. Because I hold my pens down lower, my fingers just naturally fit so well in this. Very nice. Now, one issue I do have with this pen, the nib dries out. So what I may need to do is look at replacing the feed. I kept the Moonman feed, so I'm wondering if the feed is easy to dry out because it's got this nib on it. My other models, my other M800s don't dry out and they've still got the Moonman nibs or the bot nib. There's 2 of them that have got a bot nib and I actually bought them with that bot nib. So we've got here a Moonman or Majohn. See, it hadn't dried out that time. M800 with a broad nib. So the pen, it was 66 Aussie dollars. But I paid roughly 15 Aussie dollars for that nib. So got to add them up. So together we're looking at about 81 Aussie dollars. The ink, this is Alamy ink. Again, part of the Crystal series and it's Peridot. My wife's got quite a lot of Peridot jewellery. This matches that quite nicely. So let's do that grid. So we go up and down. And we go side to side. Let's move the mic and write a sentence. Again, it's another one. It writes really well. As I say, the big issue with it, it dries out. So when I tested the pens yesterday, so I always test the pens the day before I do a video, it was a bit of a pain to get going, but eventually once it was going, it wrote really well. This morning, just before I started recording, again, I tested it. It dried out again, but a few scribbles and a couple of shakes. Brilliant writing. Once it's writing, isn't a problem. And then it'll go for a while before it dries out. But again, leave it for more than a couple of hours, the nib dries out. But I'm aware of that, so I can work around it. So this is the Moonman M800. So let me just quickly fetch this down. Hopefully, I've tried to get so we can get all the writing, or a little bit of each of the pens writing on here. So we've got at the top, we've got the Majohn M600S. With that duofold style. Below that we've got the Majohn M400. Then we've got the Majohn P135, the Majohn M1000, And at the bottom, the Majohn M800. Now, I'm going to say it's very easy. That's my favourite pen. It's one of my favourite pens, full stop. But of my Majohn pens, definitely this is the favourite pen. Not saying I don't like any of these. Not saying I don't like any of my other Majohn pens. I may do a follow-up video where we look at some of the other ones. But these are the ones that I tend to reach for more often than the others. So that's my thoughts on these 5 Majohn pens. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on these pens? What are your favourite 5 Moonman pens? I'd really like to know. I know I keep saying Moonman, should be Majohn, but old habits die hard, don't they? Why not drop a comment down below? Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.